Hello, dear ones. I am Tina Zion, and I'm here to do my series about intuition, medical intuition, and mediumship. And my first recording was really about what on earth is intuition, just in general. Then my second one was about medical intuition, and it really is a thing, and it's a real thing. And now for the third one, I thought, well, why don't I talk about what is blocking people's intuition and maybe your intuition too? What is getting in the way? And I actually jotted down the exact things that people have told me over the years is how they describe what's getting in their way. So I hope this is helpful for you too. One of the first things is a fear, just scared, sometimes terribly scared to even venture into even thinking that you're intuitive, let alone taking action to be intuitive. I cannot tell you in enough ways that it's very, very, very much a part of who we are. But what gets in the way, I've actually noticed five different things that gets in the way of us being the full being that we are meant to be, and being intuitive and having that deeper knowledge about life is very important, and it's very practical, and it's wonderful to start to live in that way. So let's explore, though, what might be getting in your way, or possibly share this with a friend of yours or friends. Please feel free to share it. Those that are struggling to become intuitive or to open up those abilities. And the first one is literally they're afraid. People are afraid of this. They're afraid that it is um, work of negativity. Have all kinds of fears. But I have wrote down quite a number of fears that people tell me about, and I want you to really notice if this affects you, and notice if any of these apply to you in your life. Some won't, but maybe some will. And I want you to really notice yourself. Always make this about yourself when you listen to any of my recordings here on YouTube. So the fears. Now, I didn't make any of these up. These are ones that people have told me in my courses. So they've come to my courses, and yet they have all these fears and worries. Bless their hearts. Sometimes I don't know how people actually arrive because they're so caught up in fears and worries. So the first one I will mention here is that many people are just afraid of the unknown. They don't think that this is a normal way to be. They're afraid of just the whatever the unknown is to them, but that's a very common word that people use. Many have told me that they're afraid of change. How is this going to change me? Is it going to change my life? Will I do things different? What kind of change will happen? I hope the change that happens when you allow yourself to become more intuitive is a great level of wisdom will come to you. And you will simply know things and be able to help people in a whole different way. Another fear is a fear of failure. What if I take this class, or what if I read your book and I just fail doing it? Well, the only thing that gets in our way is really ourselves. And so, how about realizing you're think you might fail, but then allow yourself just to relax and just be playful about this. Just be playful. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm just making it all up? Well, it will always feel like you're making it all up. It will always feel like you are imagining everything. What if I'm not worthy? And that would really surprise me. So I hear it so much. Please really check yourself out right now about being worthy to be aware on this level of life. Just take a moment. What if the spirit world dominates me? Well, it will not dominate you because the spirit world will actually do what you ask it to do. You are virtually, literally, the boss in many ways. And so there is no dominating because I teach people how to be in charge of their new abilities. So that is one of the fears, though. What if I love the spirit world too much? Well, there is a balance, though. And I always say this that I teach, let's have one foot in the physical and one foot in the non physical at the exact same time. That's balance. That's very, very balanced. What if I know things that I don't want to know? We are going to know a lot of things being intuitive because we just notice at such a profound level that we will know things that we don't want to know, but we don't have to take action on everything. That is really key. We don't have to take action just because we know something. So be very, very cautious about that. Be very aware of what you're learning. Okay. Um, what if I see dead people? That's how people say it. So if it made you giggle or think, oh, you're right, I'm afraid to see dead people. Well, that is part of our world though. The aliveness that's in us right now is our soul, and our soul is eternal. So if we do perceive a deceased person, we're perceiving their soul, and we have a soul at the same time. We're not all that different. One of the other things that I teach is to be in charge, to actually give direction to the deceased. So I hope that helps. I don't know if I want to be in a position of authority. Well, we don't need to be. My grandkids always call it bossy cows. When they were little, they would call each other bossy cows. But it always reminds me of this, that being in a position of authority does not need to go to your head. You will be very level about it. You will be very considerate about it. So I hope that helps. I'm worried about the legalities. Now, the people that tend to get worried about the legalities are people who have um, certificates or they have degrees, college degrees, that give them certain levels of what I want to say, levels of authority. And people are very often worried about losing their license as a nurse or as a physician or a counselor. I hear that quite a bit from counselors. Um, and what I always tell people that if you're worried about the legalities, and take a moment and notice whatever you notice when I say this, would having your clients sign a form, which you should have done by attorneys, but would a form and having your clients sign a form releasing you of this and that, if that brings like a sense of relief to you, then that works for you. I myself have never been worried about that, and I've never had any problems about that. But the key here is having them sign a form if that thought of it allows you to feel more comfortable, then it's right for you. So take a moment right now and just notice if that would assist you. Okay. Now, some people are afraid, well, what if I make an error? Oh, we are human. And if you make an error, just say, I think that that was an error. Let me check again with my intuitive abilities and see what I notice for you. Now, those are those are the primary fears that I hear from people. And so please notice yourself in all of these things that are blocking or possibly blocking your intuition. So the next thing that gets in the way of our intuition is expectations. What do you think intuition is going to be like when it does happen? If you expect that it's going to be negative and terrible, and well, it will be negative and terrible because you're expecting that. My expectations are that I am very kind, very gracious with the things that I know. And you will know more as an intuitive than what you know now. So it's a level of awareness. It's a level of a deepening awareness. It really is. But it's part of our birthright. It's part of who we are as as humans. So if you would take time, especially after this recording, and you might jot down, what are my expectations? What will happen when I'm more intuitive? What do I think will happen when I'm more intuitive? The third thing, the rules that you have created in your mind that limit you. So, in other words, if you are convinced that intuition has to be in a certain way, if anything, you're getting in your way because intuition, it does not come with a lot of rules. Because one of the rules about instant knowing, I don't think there are any rules, but we humans will tend to create rules in our mind that get in our way. So I want you to notice any rules that would possibly get in your way of becoming more intuitive. We have the ability to hold on to those rules, those things, those ideas. We also have the ability to release them for our own good and for the good of others that we're going to help. The fourth block that tends to get in people's ways is our thoughts and or focus on ourselves while we are doing an intuitive session. So I'll say it more clearly. If we think all about ourselves when we sit down to actually do an intuitive reading or a session, or that they're in our office, in our healing room, or on Zoom. Uh, if we have if we focus on ourselves and think only about ourselves and get all worried or all fearful or what are they going to think? Am I going to be right? What's going to happen? What do I do if this happens? What do I do if that happens? That will get in your way. So here's what I suggest to everybody. When you are about to do an intuitive session, you check yourself immediately. Notice whatever you want to notice or need to notice about yourself, and then put you over to the side. So I have a life, a family, friends, all this kind of stuff, and there's trials and tribulations going on and aches and pains and things like that. When I sit down with my client, I only think of my client and nothing else in my life. And we are capable of doing this. We're capable of being in charge of who we're meant to be. So get in charge of yourself and have no thoughts of yourself. You put you aside and you simply receive for your client. I even like talking about that. Okay, the fifth thing that tends to block our intuition is any strong emotions like fear or hate or love or fear of not being accurate, blocking our accuracy. It will get in the way. If we have any strong emotions, those emotions, again, are electrical frequencies, like I've mentioned in the other recordings. They're electrical frequencies that will literally get in the way of receiving electrical frequencies from your environment or electrical frequencies from your clients. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And then the last one, the sixth thing, is how often or how much are you actually already hiding your own abilities, hiding your own skills, or minimizing your abilities for the sake of others or for the sake of I don't know what, your family, things like that. If you are hiding, I don't say glorify it and run around telling everybody what you do or what you're capable of doing, but there's a difference between that and hiding them. So the more you hide them, the more that level of energy is keeping them contained, keeping them down, and it will lessen your ability to receive intuitive information. So anyway, I hope that this was very helpful to you, and please maybe even listen to this again and really notice yourself and take charge of you. All right? Bless your heart. See you later.